The Dragon Emperor Vorthix stood at the edge of his crystal citadel, his massive wings folded tightly against his back. His eyes glowed like molten gold as they stared down at the nest below. Aurelice, his only hatchling, lay weak and motionless on the silver strands of the nest. The soft light of the twin suns reflected off the scales of the hatchling, but even the glow seemed faint, as if life itself had dimmed inside the tiny body. Vorthix had summoned every healer in the Empire, every dragon skilled in the arts of life and death. They had chanted ancient words, mixed rare minerals, and applied magic older than most stars, but nothing worked. Aurelice's breathing was shallow, and every exhale was a struggle. The Emperor's heart, though armored in centuries of pride, ached like it never had before. "This cannot be," muttered one of the elder dragons, her voice sharp with worry. "He will die. Nothing we do can save him." Vorthix turned his head, his eyes narrowing. "Do not speak such words here," he said, his voice low and heavy. "He is my son. I will not hear doom until it is certain." The hatchling twitched slightly, a small movement that went almost unnoticed. The Emperor's sharp eyes caught it. A single claw flexed and then relaxed again. The nest was silent except for the weak, rasping breaths of Aurelice. A low rumble passed through the citadel. The Council of Elders shifted nervously. They had been present for many births, but never had they seen a hatchling so sick. Some whispered that this was a curse, others believed it was punishment for the Emperor's arrogance. None dared suggest failure, until the Emperor himself spoke. "Bring him here," Vorthix ordered. His voice echoed across the chamber. "The human." The room went still. "The human?" The dragons exchanged uneasy glances. Humans were fragile, short-lived creatures who had never proven their strength in the Empire. They were outsiders, weak and untested. The very idea of allowing one to touch a dragon hatchling was blasphemy. But Vorthix did not care what they thought. If his own kind could not save Aurelice, he would turn to a species the dragons considered weak. "Do not delay," he said. "Bring him now." Moments later, a human entered the citadel. Elias Cade, a medical worker from a distant human colony, stepped forward. He was small compared to the dragons, his body frail and unarmored, yet he walked with a steady calm that surprised many. He carried only a small pack and a quiet confidence. His eyes, sharp and observing, scanned the hatchling with curiosity rather than fear. The dragons watched him with suspicion. The elders whispered among themselves. "He will fail," one said. "He cannot possibly understand the life of a dragon." Elias knelt beside the nest, careful not to touch the hatchling immediately. He examined Aurelice with practiced hands, his fingers hovering just above the glowing scales. He spoke softly, not in commands, but in gentle words that the hatchling could feel more than hear. Vorthix leaned closer, watching. His golden eyes narrowed. He had expected the human to panic, to make mistakes, to fail spectacularly. But Elias's movements were precise, careful, and deliberate. Minutes passed. The hatchling stirred slightly. Aurelice's tail twitched, a faint movement that sent a ripple of hope through the Emperor. Elias noted it, adjusting his approach. He produced a small device from his pack, a strange human invention meant for detoxification. The dragons watched in horror. A human tool? On a dragon? Elias did not speak to the council. He ignored the skeptical murmurs. Instead he focused on Aurelice. The device hummed softly, sending a faint blue light across the hatchling's scales. Slowly, carefully, Elias adjusted the energy flow, working to flush out the star radiation poisoning he had recognized immediately. Aurelice's chest rose and fell more steadily. A weak breath, then another. The hatchling's wings twitched. The council gasped. One elder hissed, "Stop. You cannot." Vorthix raised a claw, silencing them. He did not interfere. For the first time in his life, he allowed another to care for his child without the fear of losing control. He watched as a human, a species he had always considered weak, brought life to the edge of death. The hatchling's eyes, half closed and dull, began to shimmer faintly. Elias spoke softly, words of comfort that were more feeling than sound. Aurelice responded with a weak, trembling grip of a claw on the human's finger. The gesture was small, almost imperceptible, but the Emperor's heart surged. The room was silent. The dragons held their breaths. None of them had ever seen such a thing, a tiny, fragile human saving the life of a royal dragon hatchling. The impossible was happening before their eyes. Vorthix stepped closer, his massive body casting a shadow over the nest. He expected panic, failure, or at least a mistake. But Elias remained calm. He adjusted the device slightly, whispered more gentle words, and the hatchling twitched again. Its chest rose with a stronger breath. A faint glow returned to its scales. The Emperor could not move. He had never felt such fear, not for himself but for someone he loved. The hatchling's life hung by a thread, and it was a human, a fragile human, who now held that thread in his hands. Then the moment came. Aurelius opened one eye fully, its bright, golden glow meeting Elias's calm gaze. The hatchling tried to move, weakly flapping its tiny wings. It let out a soft, almost inaudible cry, a sound that echoed in the hearts of every dragon present. Vorthix exhaled slowly. The room seemed to release a tension it did not realize it had held. The human had done the impossible. The hatchling had responded. The council of elders stirred, some in awe, some in disbelief. The dragons whispered among themselves, but no one dared speak too loudly. The Emperor's gaze remained fixed on the human and his hatchling. Elias looked up briefly, meeting the Emperor's eyes. He did not bow or plead. He only smiled slightly, exhausted but calm, as if saying, "I have done what must be done." The Emperor's heart, long hardened by centuries, softened slightly. He could not yet trust this human fully, nor did he understand the depth of what had happened. But he knew one thing with certainty: this human had earned a place in the story of his family. And for the first time in centuries, the Dragon Emperor did not feel alone. Elias did not rest. The hatchling lay in the nest, trembling but alive. Every beat of its tiny heart was a victory, yet Elias knew it was only the beginning. He adjusted the human device carefully, the blue light humming softly, washing over the scales of Aurelius. The dragon's chest rose steadily now, but the weakness remained. Any wrong move could send the hatchling back to the edge of death. The Dragon Emperor Vorthix watched silently, massive wings folding his form like a dark shadow over the nest. He had never seen care like this. The human's hands were small, delicate, yet steady. They did not shake under pressure. Each movement was precise. Even the elders whispered in disbelief, murmuring about how fragile humans usually were. "This is impossible," one elder muttered. "How can such a small creature help a royal hatchling?" Vorthix did not answer. He only observed. His golden eyes reflected both fear and curiosity. He had spent centuries learning power, command, and intimidation, but he had never seen patience like this. Humans were impulsive, yes, weak in body, yet this human, was calm, careful, and deliberate. Elias spoke softly to the hatchling. "I know it hurts. I know it's hard. But you're strong, Aurelius. You can do this." His voice had no magic in it, no command, only reassurance. The words carried warmth, a simple human kindness that even dragons could feel. The hatchling twitched. Its wings flapped slightly. A weak roar escaped its throat, a sound more like a whisper than a warning. Elias smiled faintly, placing his palm gently on the small chest. He counted the breaths, adjusted the device, and then placed a cool cloth over the tiny head to reduce fever. The dragons gasped. They had never seen a human touch a dragon so closely, let alone a royal hatchling. Aurelius shifted. One claw gripped Elias's finger lightly, almost testing him. The human did not flinch. He returned the grip gently, letting the hatchling feel support instead of fear. The council murmured in shock. Many of them had expected disaster, yet nothing happened. The human's small hands were saving a dragon's life. Suddenly the hatchling gasped sharply, its scales dimming for a moment. Elias's eyes widened slightly, but he did not panic. He adjusted the device, murmuring words of comfort. "Hold on. Just a little longer." His hands worked quickly but carefully, each movement measured. The hatchling's wings quivered as it tried to lift its head. The effort was weak but determined. The Emperor stepped closer. The heat of his body was immense, his presence overwhelming, yet he did not interfere. Something inside him stirred, a feeling long buried beneath pride and fire. Could it be hope? "Why does he persist?" asked one elder quietly. "The human is fragile. He should fail." Vorthix's eyes never left the pair. "Because he cares," he said simply. "Care is a strength dragons often forget." The room seemed to pause. The other dragons looked at the Emperor, shocked. No dragon had ever admitted that humans could possess a strength greater than fire or magic. Yet here it was, right in front of them. Elias continued. He checked the hatchling's breathing, his fingers brushing the delicate scales. He spoke softly again. "That's it, little one. You're safe now. I'm here." The hatchling responded with a weak movement, its head lifting slightly. Its golden eyes flickered with life, just enough to show it was not gone yet. Vorthix's chest rose and fell slowly. The Emperor had ruled with fear, with strength, with power. He had never known the weight of something so fragile holding life in its hands. His massive claw twitched, almost reaching to touch the hatchling himself, but he stopped. This human, so small and insignificant by dragon standards, had done what no dragon had. Time passed slowly. Elias did not tire, though his body ached. He cleaned the small wounds, adjusted the device again, and whispered encouragements. The hatchling moved more, lifting its wings slightly, attempting a small flap. A soft cry escaped its throat, stronger this time. The blue light of the human device glimmered over the scales, and for the first time the glow of life returned fully. The Council of Elders was speechless. Whispers ran like wildfire. The human, he is not failing. He is helping. Some shook their heads, unable to accept it. Others stared, captivated. None had seen care like this, not from dragons, not from humans, not from anyone. The Emperor's voice cut through the silence. Leave him be. Watch. Learn. His words were heavy with authority. The council fell silent, realizing that for once, even their Emperor had no solution, no answer, only observation. Elias noticed the hatchling's strength returning slowly. Oralis's tiny wings stretched further, its movements becoming more coordinated. The dragon attempted a weak roar again, louder than before. The sound resonated through the citadel, and even the Emperor's ears felt the vibration of life returning. Elias smiled faintly, exhausted but proud. There you go, he whispered. You're stronger than you think. He brushed a loose scale from the hatchling's head. Oralise blinked, fully aware now, responding to the human's touch without fear. Vorthix's golden eyes softened. He had never seen a dragon look at another being with such patience, such dedication. This human, so fragile, so small, had done something dragons rarely understood. He saved life with care, not power. The hatchling twitched again, attempting a weak crawl toward Elias. The human adjusted the cloth, letting the dragon feel support, warmth, and safety. Oralis's claw brushed against Elias's hand, gripping slightly as if to say, I trust you. The gesture, small as it was, echoed louder than any roar or fire. The council remained frozen, unable to speak, unable to act. Even the elder dragons watched in silence. The impossible had happened. A human had earned the trust of a royal dragon hatchling with nothing but patience, knowledge, and care. Vorthix exhaled slowly, a deep rumble vibrating in the citadel. For the first time he felt a mix of awe and unease. The humans, fragile and short-lived, might possess a strength the dragons had forgotten. He looked at Elias, standing firm despite exhaustion, and realized that this small being, so unlikely to survive in their world, had changed everything in one simple act. The hatchling let out a small, clear cry, flapping its wings slightly. Elias chuckled softly. You're going to be okay, he said, and for the first time the Emperor believed it too. Outside the nest, the citadel seemed still, holding its breath, watching a human do what no dragon could. The small hands had not shaken. The hatchling was waking. And the Empire had seen something new, a kind of strength no fire could match. Oralis's wings trembled as it lifted its head, golden eyes wide and glowing faintly. The hatchling tried to roar, a sound that came out weak but determined. Elias held it gently, supporting its tiny body with careful hands. The hum of the device filled the silent citadel, a soft blue light washing over the nest. Every dragon in the room watched in tense silence. Outside, news had spread quickly. The Emperor's citadel, usually full of fire and loud proclamations, was now strangely quiet. Guards, servants, and lesser dragons had stopped in their tracks. Word traveled fast across the Empire. The human was saving a royal hatchling. Many dragons refused to believe it. How could a fragile human, short-lived, weak and powerless, help a creature that was born of fire and ancient strength? Inside, the Council of Elders whispered urgently among themselves. This cannot last, one said. The human will tire. The hatchling will fall again. Vorthix stood close to the nest, massive body tense, wings tucked in tightly. He had never seen care like this. He had ruled with fear, with fire, with command, but never with patience. Elias's hands were small, delicate, yet steady. He worked tirelessly, never faltering, never panicking. Every movement was precise. Every word was calm. The Emperor realized for the first time that strength could come in forms dragons had long ignored. Elias adjusted the device slightly, focusing on the faint glow in Oralis's chest. Breathe, little one, he whispered. Just a little longer. The hatchling's chest rose weakly, then fell. Again. Again. Each breath was stronger than the last. Vorthix's massive claws dug slightly into the crystal floor. He did not want to admit it, but he was afraid, not for himself but for the tiny life in the nest. The hatchling's survival depended on this human, and the Emperor had no control over it. Aurelius twitched, attempting to crawl toward Elias. Its wings flapped slightly, a small movement that sent a ripple of hope through the room. The human encouraged it gently. "That's it. You're strong. Keep trying." The Council of Elders exchanged uneasy glances. "He is succeeding," one whispered. "How? How can this be?" Another elder, an ancient dragon who had served the Emperor for centuries, shook her head. "I do not understand it," she said. "A human should fail. They are weak. But he persists. And the hatchling responds." Vorthix said nothing. He only watched. His golden eyes softened as he saw Elias's determination, his care, and the bond forming between human and hatchling. For centuries dragons had relied on power, command, fear. And yet here, a fragile human had brought life back to a creature many had thought was lost. Minutes passed. The hatchling's movements grew stronger. Its wings stretched further, trying to lift itself. A weak roar escaped its throat. Elias smiled faintly, tired but steady. "That's it. Good job." The Emperor's heart, long hardened by centuries of rule, thumped strangely. He had never felt hope like this. A human, so small, so seemingly powerless, was showing a strength dragons rarely understood. Not fire, not magic, not claws or wings. Only care. Only patience. Only choice. Outside the nest, the room seemed to hold its breath. Every dragon present felt it. Even the council stopped whispering. No one moved. The impossible was happening. A human was saving a royal hatchling. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the citadel. One elder hissed, "It's too much. He cannot hold this. The hatchling will fail again." Vorthix's eyes narrowed. "You will not speak doom here." His voice, deep and commanding, silenced the murmurs instantly. He stepped closer, casting a massive shadow over Elias and the hatchling. "Observe but do not interfere. Let the human finish what he has started." Elias felt the shadow but he did not flinch. His hands remained steady. He adjusted the device slightly, whispered more encouragements, and let the hatchling feel warmth and safety. Aurelius responded immediately, curling slightly against the human's touch, testing trust and finding it returned. The hatchling's wings flapped more confidently. It attempted to stand, though legs trembled under its weight. The human steadied it, offering support. "You can do it. I've got you." Vorthix's gaze softened. For centuries, dragons had ruled with fear and strength. Yet he realized that there was power in gentleness, in dedication, in care. And he was witnessing it firsthand. The hatchling tried to roar again, louder this time. The sound echoed through the citadel, a trembling cry of life returning. The Council of Elders leaned forward, shocked. Many had never seen such resilience. Many could not believe what they were witnessing. A human, so small, had become the difference between life and death for a royal dragon. Elias let Aurelius rest for a moment on his palms, speaking softly. "You're safe now. You're not alone. Keep fighting." The hatchling blinked, golden eyes glowing fully, brighter than before. The nest seemed to shimmer as the life force returned. Outside, dragons began to whisper among themselves. Some were amazed, some angry, some confused. But all watched silently, unable to take their eyes off the tiny bond forming before them. Vorthix stepped back slightly, massive wings brushing the crystal floor. He had made a decision, though he did not speak it aloud. He would allow this human to continue even if others did not approve. For the first time he understood that strength was not only in power but also in choice, in care, and in courage. The hatchling lifted its head fully and tried another weak roar. Elias smiled faintly. "That's it. You're doing it. I'm right here." Aurelius's wings flapped once, twice. Its golden eyes glimmered with life. The citadel seemed to pause in awe, as if the stars themselves were watching. The impossible had been achieved. A fragile human had brought a royal dragon hatchling back from the edge of death. The Council of Elders remained silent. They had expected failure. They had expected disaster. Instead, they had seen hope, strength, and courage in the smallest form. Vorthix watched carefully, his golden eyes fixed on Elias and Aurelius. For the first time he understood something that he had never known. Humans were weak only in body. In heart they could be stronger than dragons. The hatchling attempted to crawl toward Elias again. Its wings stretched slightly, shaking but purposeful. The human caught it carefully, whispering, "There you go. You're okay." The Emperor's chest rose and fell slowly. The moment had arrived. The Empire had held its breath. And now, slowly, hope was returning to the citadel. Life, fragile and determined, had survived. And it had done so because a human chose to care. Aurelius now stood on trembling legs, golden eyes glowing brighter, wings quivering with renewed strength. The hatchling had survived against all odds. The citadel was filled with whispers, some full of wonder, some full of anger. Dragons had never allowed a human to touch royal blood. It was a crime older than any dragon living, a law written in fire and stone. And yet, here they were witnessing something no law could control. Vorthix, the dragon emperor, stepped forward, massive claws clicking against the crystal floor. His eyes were fixed on Elias, who still knelt beside the hatchling, exhausted but calm. The human's small hands had done what dragons' greatest healers could not. The emperor's chest rose and fell with a rumbling that shook the room slightly. He could feel the judgment of the council, the anger of the elders, the confusion of the young dragons. But he did not care. "Enough," Vorthix said, his deep voice echoing through the citadel. The council froze, all eyes turning toward him. "This human has saved my hatchling. He will remain under my protection." A shocked silence followed. The council of elders exchanged horrified glances. One elder stepped forward, her scales bristling with anger. "Your Majesty, you cannot do this. It is forbidden. Royal blood cannot be touched by humans. They are weak, short-lived, and unworthy. You break the law." Vorthix did not flinch. His gaze hardened, but there was a softness in it, reserved only for the hatchling and the human. "I have ruled for centuries with law and tradition," he said slowly. "And those laws have made us strong. But they have also blinded us. They teach pride and fear, not care. This human has shown me a strength we forgot. A strength that cannot be measured in fire, claws, or magic. Care. Dedication. Choice. That is strength too." The room trembled with murmurs. The other dragons could not believe what they were hearing. The emperor was openly defying centuries of tradition. Some lowered their heads in fear, others in awe. None dared speak louder. Elias remained kneeling beside the hatchling, looking up at Vorthix. He did not expect praise or reward. He only wanted Aurelius to be safe. The emperor stepped closer and lowered his massive head, almost touching Elias's. "You have done what no dragon could. For that I honor you." The council erupted. "You cannot," one elder roared. "He is a human. He has broken every law. The emperor cannot protect him." Vorthix's roar shook the chamber, louder than any dragon had ever heard. "I am the emperor," he bellowed. "He is under my protection. Any dragon who touches him will answer to me. Any human who dares harm him will answer to me. The laws of the past no longer matter. Only life matters." The citadel fell silent again. Even the youngest dragons trembled at the sound of their emperor's anger, yet they could not deny the truth in his words. The hatchling was alive because of a human. The emperor had chosen care over pride, strength over tradition. Vorthix turned his gaze toward the council. "We have relied on power for centuries. Command, fear, pride. And yet our child nearly died while we argued over who was worthy. This human has reminded me of something I had forgotten. Life is not measured in fire or magic. It is measured in the choice to protect, to care, and to risk everything for another." Elias felt the weight of the moment. He had not wanted glory. He had not wanted to break laws or anger an emperor. He had only wanted to help a sick hatchling. And now, by doing so, he had changed the empire itself. The elders murmured, some in fear, some in awe. One finally spoke quietly. "Perhaps we have been blind." Vorthix's massive tail swept across the crystal floor. "We have been. But the blind can learn. And today we will learn." Aurelius crawled closer to Elias, resting its head on the human's shoulder. The bond was clear, visible to all. Even dragons could sense it. The emperor stepped closer, careful not to interfere, but allowing the moment to be witnessed. "From this day forward," Vorthix continued, "humans may enter our healing halls. They may care for our young. They may serve as guardians, not as slaves or outsiders. Those who oppose this decree will answer to me." The council's whispers grew louder, but no one dared disobey. The emperor's decision was final. The citadel seemed to hum with a strange energy, as if the walls themselves approved. Elias stood, supporting Aurelius with care. I do not wish for power or reward," he said softly. "I only wish to see him healthy and safe." Vorthix inclined his massive head. "Then you shall have that," he said. "You will remain the hatchling's guardian. No dragon may challenge this. And if you wish, you may train others in the ways of care. For humans have a gift we dragons must learn." The elder dragons whispered among themselves. Many still struggled with the idea, but even they could not deny the sight before them. The hatchling was strong. The human was calm and confident. And the Emperor had broken ancient law to ensure life prevailed. Outside the nest, the citadel seemed to glow brighter than before. The light of the twin suns reflected off the crystal walls, bathing the chamber in warmth. For the first time dragons felt hope, not fear. They had witnessed the impossible, an emperor willing to defy tradition to honor life, and a human who had changed the course of their history. Vorthix looked down at Elias. "You have earned the right to be here," he said simply. "And one day perhaps your people will teach us more. We have much to learn." Elias bowed slightly. "I only hope I can live up to your trust, Emperor." The hatchling let out a soft, contented sound, curling closer to the human. Vorthix's eyes softened. In that moment he realized that the Empire was changing. Not through fire, not through fear, not through power, but through something new. Something quiet. Something humans had always understood. Care. Compassion. Courage in the face of fragility. The elders, the young dragons, and even the guards watched silently. They knew history had been made today. A dragon emperor had chosen life over law, and a human had proven that strength was not measured in size, fire, or magic, but in heart. And the Empire, vast and ancient, held its breath, waiting to see what would come next. Years had passed since Aurelius had been saved. The hatchling had grown into a strong dragon, golden scales shining like molten sunlight, wings powerful and majestic. The memory of weakness had faded, replaced by strength and confidence. Yet the story of how he survived, and the human who had saved him, was remembered across the Empire. Elias Cade still walked among dragons, smaller than most but never overlooked. He had become a teacher of care and healing, showing dragons that strength was more than claws and fire. Many young dragons trained under him, learning patience, observation, and kindness. The once skeptical council of elders had softened. Some still grumbled quietly about the Emperor's choice, but even they could not deny the truth. Humans had a power dragons had long forgotten. Vorthix, the Dragon Emperor, watched the changes with quiet pride. His empire, vast and proud, was learning to value more than strength and dominance. Dragons were now working alongside humans in healing halls, space stations, and research chambers. Some humans had come from distant colonies, others from far-off planets. All were welcome to protect life, to guide hatchlings, and to teach dragons what patience and compassion could achieve. One day, a young dragon approached Elias with a question. "Why do humans care so much?" the dragon asked. "They are short-lived. They are small. Why do they risk everything for others?" Elias smiled gently. "Because they choose to. Humans survive in a dangerous galaxy not by strength alone, but by caring for one another, even when it is hard. They protect what they love even when the cost is great. That is strength too." The dragon considered this, blinking golden eyes slowly. "I never thought of it like that," he said. "We dragons always relied on fire and power. Perhaps we were blind." Aurelius, now fully grown, landed beside them, shaking his massive wings. He lowered his head and nudged Elias gently with his snout. "He saved me," the dragon seemed to say with his eyes. "Because of him I survived. Because of him we learned to see differently." Vorthix observed from above, perched on the highest balcony of the citadel. He had seen empires rise and fall, dragons conquer planets, and humans struggle to survive. But this change, this understanding between dragons and humans, was different. It was subtle, quiet, and more powerful than any war or command. The galaxy had taken notice. Other species, watching the dragon empire and humans interact, began to reconsider their assumptions. Humans, once seen as weak and unimportant, were now valued across planets. They were invited to councils, medics halls, and teaching stations. Where humans went, life flourished. They were not warriors like dragons or hunters like other species, but their courage, their patience, and their care had a weight no one could ignore. Aurelius flew above the citadel, golden wings casting long shadows across the crystal floor. He remembered the night he almost died, the human who had knelt beside him, the warmth and steady hands that had refused to leave. That memory guided him now. Whenever he saw a hatchling struggle, he thought of Elias and passed the lesson forward. The galaxy would know that dragons could be strong, but humans had something even dragons needed: heart. Elias moved quietly through the training hall, checking the progress of a group of young dragons. One dragon struggled to lift its wings, frustration flashing in its eyes. Elias crouched, placing a hand gently on the dragon's scales. "You can do it," he said softly. "Just take it slow. I'm here with you." The dragon hesitated, then flapped again. This time it lifted a little higher. A cheer went up from the other dragons, and Elias allowed himself a small smile. One by one, dragons learned that life could be protected through care, patience, and guidance. They learned to trust humans not as weaklings, but as allies stronger than anyone had imagined. Vorthix descended to stand beside Elias. "You have done more than save a hatchling," the Emperor said. "You have changed our empire." Elias shook his head. "I only did what I could. Orleis was worth saving. That was all." The Emperor's eyes softened. "And because of that choice, the galaxy will never forget what humans can do. They may be small, fragile, and short-lived. But they are not weak. They carry strength in ways we dragons cannot see. We have learned, because of them, that true power comes from heart, not just fire." Orleis nudged Elias once more, letting him know the bond was unbroken. Around them, young dragons flapped their wings, practicing what they had learned. Across the empire, humans and dragons worked together, teaching each other, protecting hatchlings, healing the injured. Stories of humans saving dragons spread even beyond the empire. Other species told tales of small humans braving dangers, caring for the helpless, and surviving where others failed. The galaxy slowly changed its perception of humanity. They were no longer weak. They were quiet heroes, guardians who risked everything for life itself. Elias looked up at the sky, where countless stars glimmered. He thought of distant planets, of the humans struggling to survive, and of Orleis, once small and fragile, now strong and proud. "This is what matters," he whispered. "Life. Care. Choosing to protect, no matter the odds." Vorthix's massive wings stretched as he looked over the empire. He had ruled with fear, command, and power for centuries, but now he saw a different path. The galaxy would remember this. Humans had taught dragons something they could not learn on their own. Strength was not only in claws, fire, or magic, it was in heart, patience, and courage. And so, the empire changed. Hatchlings were nurtured, humans were welcomed, and dragons began to see the galaxy differently. The stories of a small human who saved a royal hatchling spread far and wide, inspiring others. Planets beyond the dragon empire reconsidered the value of humans. They were no longer fragile outsiders. They were protectors, guardians, quiet forces of hope in a dangerous galaxy. Orleis roared, not in fear or anger but in joy and life. The sound echoed across the citadel, a reminder to all who listened. Strength came in many forms, and the galaxy had learned, quietly but surely, the greatest strength humans possessed. Elias smiled as he watched. He did not seek glory, and yet he had given the galaxy a gift beyond measure. One small choice, one act of care, had changed the fate of dragons, humans, and every species who would come to know them. And in that quiet truth, the galaxy learned something new. Humanity was a force that could not be measured by size, lifespan, or power. True strength was in the heart.